Hello, SmartCentres team. This is Sean at Streetscape, and I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough of the new features that will allow you, members of your team, to be able to toggle between French and English content management directly through the Streetscape interface. As you know, you're able to do so right now from a logged in session by going to the personal menu and under inventory setup. The bulk data management features allow you to export and then re-import French content for a larger group management exercise. And the new features that I'm going to show you now are the editing capabilities within the UI for records in French or in English. So in order to begin this process, we're actually going to start from right where I just navigated to here, where the bulk management features are. Under your personal menu, under inventory setup, you're going to arrive at a listing 50 at a time that is searchable. And just to make this easier, we'll grab a North Montreal location that has French and English content. Please note that we're using our staging environment here so that anything that you see isn't necessarily active in production, and any changes that we make won't be reflected there either. So, but it does give proper representation. So here I am under inventory setup, and I have simply done a search for a particular property by name, and because I want to be able to edit the Montreal North location. So by selecting on the row, I'm going to select the edit icon on the far right-hand side. And now when this property record loads, we're going to see one small change to the UI in the upper right-hand corner. As you can see here, there is now a toggle switch between English and French. And you'll notice here that the software, in fact, indicated which one was loaded. But as when it comes up here by default, it will be loaded in English. And you can see here that that was the default state that came up. And we're going to use the property description field here because it's the one that is most clearly distinguished between English and French. So if I want to modify the English property description, I can do so right here. And if I want to switch over to the French version, I simply toggle, and you'll notice much of that content is the same. But as I scroll down here, you'll notice, I've loaded the French content here for the property description, as is indicated by the French information within the field, and obviously recognize it there. And I am going to make a couple of the changes as well, so you can see what this looks like here. So I am just going to add some false data for a moment into any one of these fields that are here, and we're going to see how this responds. You'll notice at the bottom there is a save option, but if I just try to toggle off and go over back to the English page, it's going to prompt me to see if I want to save this content. If I don't save it, it's going to simply go to English and it'll discard my changes completely. If I cancel, I'll go back to the page. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and save. And you'll notice here that acres is showing in English, and the confirmation came at the top. But if I pop back to the French version here, you'll see right away there's the French content that I entered, and I can toggle back and forth. If I don't make changes, obviously I will not be prompted to save anything, and I can move around and look at the English versus French records as I go. I can just use the save button at the bottom, by the way, and that will allow me to make a change. If I put some English content in here and I go ahead and I hit save, the property information is now updated, and I can toggle over to French. And obviously I don't get that dialog, but here's the French version again. And I can flip back to the English version and I can see the change that I made. So it's a very simple and straightforward process of toggling between English and French, as consistent with the requirements that we identified. You'll note that the headings and the field labels they remain in English. We certainly are willing to do the translation if that comes up, and we can talk about that. But for the requirements of this particular exercise, this is the property record where you'll see this toggle exists. If you drill down even further into the next level, as you may recall, that all records within Streetscape are a three-tiered nested record system, in which the property is first. Nested within any property are one or more buildings, and nested within one or more buildings are one or more units. And here we have, so if I've gone one level deeper, I've gone into building, and I can go ahead and select edit, and I will bring up what is now a familiar looking page with the addition of the French and English toggle that is here. As we use limited information within the building record itself, I'm going to just drill down a little bit further into the units themselves. So here we have a Walmart Supercenter, for example. If I go ahead and I click on the editing of the unit record itself, when this comes up, we'll note exactly the same thing. So we have the English and French versions. In fact, you notice I use this as a test record here. English feature. If I toggle over, of course, it prompts me to save. And I toggle over to the French, and here we have some French. And the same thing happens again, and I save, and I can toggle back and forth. And the confirmation message is at the top, indicating that the record has been updated. So that is a very straightforward way in which these records can now be edited in line within the UI itself. So where there are small individual changes that maybe don't necessitate the bulk download process, or maybe it's a little quicker and easier, this can be used as an alternative. Again, to recap from the beginning, by going into the personal menu, under inventory setup, we're presented with either the bulk option by exporting and re-importing changes that can be made in either English or French. Or now we have individual record management through the UI by selecting, identifying a particular property, going into the edit feature now. And I can, from the edit feature, I can edit the property, building, or any unit record. And I can toggle between English and French values here on this menu itself, building units. Note that the floor and floor/grouping capability is a grouping feature that crosses. It's not nested inside of either buildings. Inside of buildings, it crosses buildings, so that this can be used and is used generally here to designate individual floors within buildings itself. But it is another organizing group, and there is very limited information. It's all it really is a label. So property information, buildings, and units can now be edited here in English or in French for all user types inside of SmartCentres, so that that data management activity can go on regardless of what. If you have access to editing any of this data, you have access to French and English now as well. That's all. If there are any questions, don't hesitate. You can comment directly on this video from the link that I provide. You can either create a video response, or you can create comments or questions in the video as well, or don't hesitate to reach out to me directly. But I hope that's helpful. This has been an overview now of the UI capabilities for managing both English and French records within SmartCentres' retail portfolio. Thanks very much. Bye for now.